Good afternoon. Good morning for those of our friends from North America. Good afternoon in Africa. My name is NJ. I'm the executive chair of the African Energy Chamber, and I just want to welcome everyone who is participating in this webinar. And the discussion which we seek to have today is about the state of African energy. Africa is at the crossroads. We have seen a continent trying to emerge out of COVID-19. We've seen an industry that's been shaken by decarbonization and global issues like the war in Russia and Ukraine. We've seen a recent rush for gas around African gas with regard to fitting into Europe. We've also seen within our continent a big push on decarbonization and also on keeping oil and gas in the ground and not really driving with production and new licenses. But there is some hope in a sense where we're seeing two big exploration campaigns turn out very good in Namibia with Shell and Total Energies. We're seeing great ambitions around Mozambique, where Total Energies is going to start its productions in its LNG projects again. But we also seen issues around African independence, whether it's ITO and the oil spills in Nigeria, or issues around energy security with crude oil theft in Nigeria that are still problematic in our continent. Power generation in Africa has slightly increased, but also a population increase has created a continent where we still have to deal with issues around energy poverty. But a big uptick in investments that are coming into Africa this year, how those investments would mean, and what we should be thinking of, getting African producers to actually do deals and sign deals and get deals done, it is going to be key, whether with local players or not. We believe at the Chamber that free markets, limited government, individual liberty, pushing local content, pushing issues around women's rights and women in energy, it's key and really, really important if our continent should meet those challenges. To deal with a lot of these issues, I would be moderating this session today. I would ask you to put some of your questions. Please forgive me if I don't get your question posed. We have with us today, Timmy, we do need your video on. We don't like, I think our audience would not like you not having your video. We have today, Timmy, who is the African Energy Chamber President for Namibia. Leoncio Amada, based in Equatorial Guinea, he is the President of the Chamber, of the African Energy Chamber for the SAMAC region, covering Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Congo, Chad, and Central Africa. We also have Grace, who is on our advisory board and also serves a lot on our gas and investment committees. Verna Ayuk, who is our Senior Vice President of Policy. And nobody can say it more than anybody, Abdul Omidia, the guy who bams with the big boys. He is our president for Nigeria and West Africa. We could not be more pleased to have this esteemed panel join us and go with questions. We believe at the Chamber that the more interaction we have with you and questions coming from you would really shape how this dialogue goes. So today I would play the role as moderator. I would ask the questions and they would answer. I hope you can probe them, and I hope you can, we hope we can share a lot of what we do and really hope to learn a lot from you as well. So this would be an open dialogue with all parties. And I just want to start with the first question. And this question goes to Grace. Grace, we've seen a big discussion around Africa with the role of gas and gas to Europe. Do you think that should be the right discussions, or is Africa able to provide gas? Number one, is Africa able to provide gas to Europe? And number two, should we not be talking about an intra-Africa gas pipeline for gas to Africa, given that we have a lot of issues that we could use gas in Africa? From your expertise, what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Hi, NJ. At this moment, looking at the huge gas reserve we have as a continent, domestic gas supply should be a priority first, before supplying to Europe or supplying to the rest of the world that really needs gas. We need gas in Africa, considering we have over 600 million Africans still not have access to electricity. We need gas. So right now, our priority as Africa, as a continent, should be focused on gas and not trying to meet the demand of others. There's a saying that goes, charity begins at home. So we should focus on gas to supply Africa first. Africa should be our priority before we actually look at Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world. I would say, considering gas is regarded as a clean energy, clean source of energy, gas should be our priority. And you make mention severally on having funding for gas projects, for gas development. This is key as well. We need these funds to come in so we supply gas to Africa first, so we can actually work towards achieving the energy poverty come 2030. NJ, you're muted.
This is amazing. Isn't this beautiful building, Chairman? You get told you muted. From a technical perspective, is it first of all, Abdul, can we get gas to Europe? I think our priority is get gas to Africa. Yeah. But can we get gas to Europe? And what does it take for us to get gas to Europe? And what would it take for us to get gas to Africa?
Abdul, you're muted.
I believe that question is for me, NJ, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can we get gas to Europe? From the continent, who is closer to Europe from other continents? Africa is the closest to Europe. The last time I checked, people can swim from the tip of Africa to Europe. So we're so close to Europe. So why are we not the priority one in getting gas access to Europe? And one thing I wanted to actually share with the audience and the team today is the challenge that we've seen in Africa not getting the gas access to Europe. And I wanted to actually drive this point from the infrastructure that is available today in Africa. Africa is already exporting gas to Europe. And I look at the statistics. I have a chart that actually shows the statistics of the gas that comes to Europe. And it goes from the likes of United States, Qatar, Russia, Nigeria, and Algeria. And by number, Algeria is bringing in 1 BCF of gas to Europe. Nigeria is bringing in 1 BCF of gas per day to Europe, while Russia is bringing 2 BCF of gas.
But Abdul, I'm going to stop you there. We want to understand, can we do it if, take a country like Nigeria, what would it take to ramp up production to get gas to Europe in 3 months, in 6 months? What would it take?
So to get gas from one place to the other, you need to be able to have the transmission system. So the pipeline is not available. I'm glad to see that we signed the Nigeria, Niger, Algeria Trans-African Pipeline. These are not things that are happening today. These are things that should have happened years ago. If I show you the gas network of Europe compared to the gas network of Africa, you will understand the underinvestment in the infrastructure in Africa. It's a spider web with the gas network in Europe coming from Africa. Apart from the one coming from Algeria going to Europe, there is no other link. There is Egypt going to the Middle East, the Syria, the Israel. There is no other link. So we have failed to invest in infrastructure to aggregate gas from Africa to Europe. So what do? We go with the LNG option. This is why you have the Train 7 now in Nigeria with the LNG option. To get back to that, we need to get those investments to rapidly develop the gas project around Africa. Every single gas exporting country in Africa is blessed with about almost 100 TCF from Senegal, 270 TCF from Nigeria. We have enough gas. The infrastructure was not there. The investments has not been there. It is about time for Nigeria to understand that Nigeria and other African countries with a very high reserve of gas to understand to put and drive the infrastructure we need in place to buttress Grace's point, meet the domestic gas obligation, and second, support our friends in Europe.
I'm going to bring you on this right now. Abdul just talked about the infrastructure and the support base. We have a problem with money. What does it take to be able to build this infrastructure and support base? Where do we have the money from? Where do we have? Because it's always about these ideas and we need. Where do we find the money?
Thank you, NJ, and thank you, Abdul, for the pre-discussion. I think it's pretty simple. The money is there. The money is there where the gas is needed.
Where is the money? Where's the checkbook?
You are looking at Africa itself. Before mobile phones, people asked, where do you get the money to be able to build all the mobile phone infrastructure? On gas, the money is there. What it means is that you need to look at downstream, what needs to be done to make sure that you can get utilities that can actually pay. Once you get an off-taker, you have the money. It is as simple as that. Every investor is looking for a credible off-taker. So as to Grace's
point, Bernard, let me stop you. There has always been issues with African utilities being poorly run, not being able to pay their employees, not being able to cope with anything. Yeah. How do you think we are going to turn these utilities into high-paying entities that can build gas infrastructure?
Kick out the politicians. It's very simple. Kick them out and let business people run it. They have a role to play, but their role is not in the utilities. Once you take out the politics, you make sure that those can pretty much.
Today we can't take out the politicians. Today we need to find the money. Yeah. How do we get the money?
Yeah.
Again, I need to stress, if at all you cannot create a credible off-taker base, you're just running around in terms of wishful thinking about how you find the money. Create a credible off-taker base, be it in Europe. The reason why people like Europe and people like America exporting it is because there is a credible off-taker base who say, when you deliver, I pay. We don't have that yet in Africa, and we need to develop that. It's not going to happen overnight. Nobody's going to put, I'm not going to put my money.
Let me stop you and let me bring Grace. Grace, there is this discussion on looking for money. Yeah. You have, I think, besides your work with the chamber, you've been doing a lot of independent investment. Mm-hmm. There's that argument on utilities. There's that argument on energy banks. Where do we find the money not to drive up gas and other projects in Africa?
We need private investors. We need private investors, and we need African banks to actually sit up. Because Europe is not going to give us the money, America is not going to give us the money. We need private investors.
You're talking African banks. Your African Development Bank says they do not invest in anything fossil fuels. I actually believe they're wrong. They also do not really invest in a lot of other projects that would be deemed as not bankable, especially in these utilities.
We have private investors who are interested in Africa. I'm sure.
How do we get them in?
We need to, there's the Team Energy Africa we're currently working on with UNECA, Sustainable for All. So with that awareness, that will actually drive and give some comfort to private investors.
I see Abdul raising his hand. Abdul, I'm going to bring you in, then get time who is itching to get on the show because I have a different question. Abdul,
Yeah.
where do we find the money? And also, I just want you to talk a little bit about Team Energy Africa. 1 minute.
So where do we find the money? Veda is right. The money is there when there's an off-taker.
Well,
So,
you guys keep saying the money is there. There, where? Where is the money? Show me the check.
The question is this. We are currently producing tons of gas today. Why is those gas not in Africa? Why are they going out? That is number one. The people that invested in Africa gas invested for them to be the off-taker of those African gas. So they are investing in African gas to take the gas away. You beg yourself the question, Nigeria is taking 2 BCF or 1 BCF a day to Europe. Does Nigeria not need gas? Is there a place in the agreement that says that if you're going to develop my gas, this percentage must come to me and this goes to you in our contractual agreement? So what we see today in Africa, if I show you the map of LNGs in Africa, all over Africa, from Rovuma, Coral, Greater Terrain, GTA, LLNG, Algeria, you will understand how much tons of LNG is going out on a daily, on an annual basis, and why is Africa
But
still?
Abdul, the question is, most of the off-takers of those LNG are foreign investors with the right to take it abroad. They're not African off-takers.
Exactly.
Is it fair to say we can have the African pension funds, African banks, telecoms, put structures together that can turn African off-takers and keep more value into in the continent? Leonce, what do you say to that?
Yes.
Listen, thank you, NJ. I think it's clear that we have money. The money is here. Just take an example. In 2020, every African country has, budgeted, saying that they will have to sell the oil and gas at $45 per barrel. Today, we sell how much of oil? Almost $100 per barrel. So the money is here. Africa is making now, today, $500 million a day by selling oil and gas. So the money is here. We just need, country state to have the will to actually invest that money in oil and gas. We are making today $500 million selling oil and gas per day in Africa. Right now, I will speak. So don't tell me there's no money. We have money. So we don't need foreign guys to come to invest in Africa because the money is here. We are making, again, $500 million per day as we speak right now. So the money is here, NJ.
Thank you, Leoncio. Grace, I'm going to come to you about structuring but that's what you do. Taimi, we've seen a big, there have been so much what I call an oasis of love around Namibia and great discoveries by Total Energies and Shell. Is Namibia ready for an oil boom?
Unmute myself. Is Namibia ready? I think in most terms, Namibia is ready in terms of its policies. There's still a little bit of work to be done, but in terms of the country's governance, I think the country's ready. Infrastructurally, there's a lot of work to be done in that space, but it's also ready in terms of the fact that we do have NAMPort, which has the technical expertise to provide not only the administrative support for logistics, but also for the actual technical work and servicing and maintenance of major oil rigs. I know, for instance, the public-private partnership with between NAMDOC and NAMPort has actually attracted a lot of oil rigs from across the west coast of Africa, seeking for requests for maintenance and service support that cannot be done on the African continent, but can somehow be done here in Namibia at NAMDOC because they have the technical expertise for it.
Tammy, I'm going to stop you and I'm going to push you again with another question. For a lot of African players whether in Nigeria, Ghana, Equatorial Guinea, South Africa, a lot of them are service producers, so they own service companies, the entrepreneurs. How does it work with them being able to establish in a country like Namibia? How welcoming is it for them to change skills, work with local partners or local entities to be able to do business in the country, and basically using African skills, whether it's from South Africa or Nigeria or Ghana, to work in that country right now? I know you have a conference coming up, but give us a teaser on that before people go into next week.
Yeah, I think, that's a very important point, just knowing that policy-wise, and in terms of the local content policy in Namibia, we still have a lot of work to do, which, support from countries who've been there, done that, like Nigeria, would serve, great support for Namibia. Local content development is essentially key to the oil and gas industry and to the development of it and growth of it, to make sure that you filter the benefits into the hands of local Namibians, not just equity and everybody trying to get, equity in the blocks, but also in the service industry. So I think in that sense, there is an opportunity for the continent to partner with local companies to make sure that they bring the technical expertise and skills. And I mean, we're just looking to the continent for that support. I think let's just say that it's this Namibia as the frontier space and probably the last kid to join the block is going to need the support of the continent. And this is where we're talking about African unity and technical support on the ground.
Tammy, I think I'm going to ask you this before someone else jumps. We have a very interesting question from the audience. Big question. Your country has moved pretty much forward with green hydrogen in Namibia. At the time when we're looking at decarbonization and a lot of really nice people telling us to go green, how is that green hydrogen project in Namibia, and what can other African countries learn from Namibia when it comes to green hydrogen development? And then I will go back to Abdul on something else.
Yeah, energy, I think we've said it before, energy poverty is not a catchphrase, and the singular narrative of green energy is not African, and ours is that of the energy mix. And I think Namibia is taking on that narrative and saying that we're going to transition into this new phase, through a proper energy mix. And that requires a lot of tenacity and I guess, I'm trying to say that the green hydrogen project has been highly criticized because not everybody sees that vision. So it requires a lot of foresight, tenacity, and work and international collaboration to actually make it happen. So Namibia is not doing this on their own. It's obviously too big of a project for government to take on its own. And this is where you see collaboration from the global community, a lot of support coming in from Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and then also the private sector in Namibia is highly involved in this green hydrogen project. This is just to say that Namibia is very much aware that climate change is not only a challenge, but an opportunity. And so gas has never been more important to global society, and we know that it works. So we hope that the plans put in place will definitely bear their fruit.
Leoncio, we have issues, and again, I'm still picking on the question as a question I'm having here. Big discussion about taxes, structuring, but I want to do a little bit of a switch. Is how are we going to get investment, especially in regions like yours, Central African regions, when we look at issues around forex control, high taxes on energy producers, and are doing business and transparency ratings, your region is one of the worst in the continent, if not the world. How do you think we can turn that around to really make energy investments attractive to that region and that continent? Let's just put it, I mean, it's a shame. Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Congo, Central Africa, Chad, you know, great prospects, great oil and gas basins, and even with issues around hydrogen or renewables, but you can't get to muscle the financing to come in there. What do you think, what you make the case to the viewers and some investors in the room, why they should come?
Thank you. I think you are right. I mean, you just point out that we have some issues. I would say challenges. We're not the worst, but we have some challenges in my region. Now,
We're not the worst compared to Afghanistan, but let's go.
Some challenges that we have. But of course, I mean, it's not that coincidence that over the last few years, all big majors are just leaving the region. Egypt, Cameroon, Congo, they are leaving.
But why is that? You had Exxon in the region, Chevron in the region. There is a massive exodus from that region with a great potential and resources. They can't seem, why are they leaving?
Because the fiscal terms are just ridiculous. They don't make sense. We've been saying this, over and over and over. We have I would say the worst tax system in the world. In Cameroon, in Gabon, in Congo, Chad, you have high taxes, and nobody understands that. This region, economy based on oil and gas. At the same time, this region is punishing, the oil and gas people that are just creating jobs. And we believe that if we don't change the course over the next few months or years, we are just going to destroy our economies. And you can add to that, the BEAC or bank is just a disaster. It's a disaster. Right now, most companies are opening bank accounts in Nigeria, to pay stuff from there and send them to this region because BEAC is just blocking, the oil and gas economy in this region. So we are inviting the BEAC, the Minister of Finance, and the government to make sure that, please, guys, we need to review our tax systems to attract people that have money and creating jobs. Otherwise, believe me, NJ, we are just going to create, a nightmare for our people and for our economies.
Beyonce, you just got a bunch of Nigerians really shocked by saying people would have to open bank accounts in Nigeria because your area is so bad.
It's happening. It's actually happening. To tell you how far we have come, from where you had in the past, big guys coming, to bid in this region, ExxonMobil, Chevron, but they are now leaving because this, is hell on earth.
Let me bring you in, Werner. We've seen, when you look at places like South Sudan, continued crisis has really dampened hydrocarbon growth in those markets. And if you look at East Africa, whether it is Kenya or Uganda or the Kalenga Kingfisher projects, what would it take very quickly to get local companies working in those areas and also people being able to operate in stable environments? Because we need that. And I think we as Africans need to have that conversation.
I agree with you, NJ. Without peace and security, there is no business. And that is why I'm very happy that the government of South Sudan, together with the armed opposition group, have actually struck a deal around security. Yesterday, there was a big deal announced, and we're all looking forward to more security in the area. The hope is that that is going to increase the amount of investment and get African companies as well as South Sudanese companies to be able to get more involved and to be able to grow capacity. That is absolutely clear. In terms of places like Uganda, those are the big destinations in the next decade with respect to investment as we see work on the pipeline going forward. We at the Chamber continue to encourage companies in Africa who have been able to develop capacity to be able to move into other countries. So there's no reason why a company that has developed significant capacity in Nigeria, in Equatorial Guinea, and in other places would not move into places like Uganda or South Sudan. So certainly peace is important, peace is coming. We hope it's gonna be long-term, and we're looking forward to much more opportunity and people putting some real dollars in the ground in terms of investment.
Don't worry, Verna is too short to be South Sudanese. He's not that tall. Abdul, I just want you to explain to us real quick about Team Energy Africa. You have a launch coming up, May 17 to May 19. I hope I have it right. Please just brief us real quick, and also bring in, maybe talk a little bit about this database that you're doing and how you could get African players really participating on some of the significant projects, and tell me the amount of money that you guys are putting it together.
So, I mean, I'm glad to hear talk about capacity building. It does not make sense that a particular region that is well-versed, well-advanced in local content, in capacity building, do not do that transition to move to other region, bring the lessons learned, bring the best practices, and implement it faster. We have a mission to build the Africa we want. We have set the milestone of 2030 to have SDG 7 accomplished by 2030. We are likely going to miss that milestone. Now,
what is SDG 7? I'm not that smart. Can you please tell me, tell some of my audience?
So SDG 7 is a United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 7, which states we have to ensure that we have access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy. In my own interpretation of SDG 7, I said to the United Nations team, first, the energy has to be available. So we need to improve the generation capacity. If the energy is available, then it can be accessed. So we have the accessibility of this energy. If you access the energy, you're gonna have to start to think, is it affordable for the average citizen, for average African?
For the average citizen watching, what is Team Energy Africa?
So Team Energy Africa is a platform that aggregates the investors, energy developer to come together to accelerate the SDG 7 objective.
That's exactly the problem. Too much big words. Dumb it down, make it plain to me. Who is involved in Team Energy Africa? What are their partners? We don't need PhDs, we need PhDs, Abdul. Just break it down.
These are our initiative between United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, that its sole objective is to develop Africa. The Sustainable Energy for All, that its sole objective is to make sure that sustainable energy, source of energy, cooking, and electricity is available to all. And then the African Energy Chamber, who is the voice of Africa, voice of energy in Africa. Though these three groups has a common synergy to come together to develop the initiative Team Energy Africa with the sole objective in mind: accelerate SDG 7, accelerate the time it takes for us to have electricity, 100% access in all parts of Africa, integrate the energy mix, gas and renewable. We know renewable is here to stay. Develop initiative like what happened in South Africa, the Renewable Energy in IPP, the Renewable Energy Independent Power Purchase Program, where you can create many mini grids, and you can ask the government to change their law that limit the licensing. For example, in South Africa, they are moving from the 1 megawatt level for licensing to 100 megawatts. If you create more of this in Africa, you will come to a situation where you have many mini grids and you have more African having access to electricity. So Team Energy Africa is
how much money is involved by the United Nations and all of you smart guys working on that? How much money?
Oh, it is envisaged that about 500 billion is required to get Africa a year to get Africa to where we are going. So what we do today is to go to a country, look at the power plant, which is the future of the energy in that country, then work with financial infrastructure companies to get investors' interest. First, African investors, get their interest in investing in Africa, then attract other foreign investors. Today, we've been able to get green bond of about $1 billion that we are trying to go into this independent power purchase program.
Abdul, I'm going to stop you. The magic word to the audience is $1 billion that they've been able to put in. I know everybody's watching and they say 1 billion. I read a book called Billions at Play. So when I hear billions, it tickles me. If you are watching this, contact Abdul. You could reach him on through your Zoom. I'll bet Abdul, to those who cannot reach you immediately, how can they reach you with on this Team Energy Africa? I think it's an amazing initiative that you've been able to get the Chamber, the United Nations, Sustainable Energy for All to really work on something so important. And how can they reach you and be part of this?
So on May 17 to 19, we'll be having the official launching of Team Energy Africa in Kigali, Rwanda. And there is a link which you must have seen. Damilola Ogumbi, the ESC, Sustainable Energy for All, and the members of the UNEC are shared on LinkedIn. People under the age of 35, the youth, are encouraged to come because we're going to do some youth empowerment and women in energy empowerment. It's part of the sub of the Team Energy Africa. We have the gas team as well, the gas expert group, and we have the renewable group. So people under the age of 35 can come for free. You can subscribe, come to Kigali and attend this global forum for free between 17 and 19, where it will be launched. You can join virtually as well. It's hybrid. So I encourage people to join and see the launching of Team Energy Africa, independent power producer, 2 megawatt, 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt. You have a lot to gain in being part of Team Energy Africa as energy developer, where you will be in a database of validated, credible energy developer in Africa, in each country. And then where we also have the planning tool of each country energy plan, and we can match the demand versus the developers and put the right investment in place to accelerate these power generation projects. So I will encourage them to join virtually or come physically to Kigali from 17th to 19th of May.
$1 billion on the table, a lot of money to be made. I'm going. I don't know about you, but then I would like to bring in Grace. Grace, we've seen a slew. I think Leonce talked about divestment out of his region, but it's a slew of mergers, acquisitions happening in the oil and gas space, and you are very clearly involved. How do you think African players can play in these acquisitions that are taking place? Number one. Number two, how can they raise the financing to finance some of the acquisitions? And the third part of it is, how is energy, the dialogue around energy transition or ESG issues being considered while doing these acquisitions? Now you know Grace has a lot of money. We can see her entire boardroom. Grace, can you hear us? You're on mute.
I can hear you now. I actually went off and I just came back on.
Could you hear the question?
No, I didn't. I lost you there.
Okay, the question is, one, how can African players play in the mergers and acquisitions of IOCs that are divesting out of the continent? Number two, how can they raise finances for it, especially in an environment in which we are dealing with a lot of ESG issues that are certainly to affect financing of mergers, financing of any kind of fossil fuel projects?
Okay, I'll start by number one, the first one you asked. How can African players, those who are interested, actually go into the mergers and acquisition of some of the assets that IOC is a big five, especially actually living? I'll give a good example is Nigeria. I.e., you look at the Shell divestment.
Grace, can you turn around and look at me? Just turn left.
I don't know.
Stay away from your computer.
I'm not on my computer. I'm not on my computer.
Don't look at the computer. Don't look at the computer.
Can you see me?
Good. You look so good. Keep talking.
Okay.
Keep that pose.
I think the key players, the African players or the indigenous players, I'll give a good example of Nigeria, because that is a big market where IOCs are actually living, you know, and we have indigenous players coming in. You know, funding is always an issue. We talked about funding earlier. I know you kept on insisting on how do we get the money? Where is the money? How do we get the money? Collaboration will be key here for the acquisition of some of these IOC assets. And as much as we want, as individual players, private investors want to invest, we need to be very careful here to make sure we actually have the governance structure in place. Collaboration will be a way to go to raise this funding. Collaboration will be it. What do I mean by collaboration? You may not be able to go in just alone. You may want to go in with other players, other private investors. So the risk is shared. Then secondly, you talked about funding, how it's actually hard to raise funding in Africa. You're right, it's quite difficult to raise funds in the continent, within the continent is hard, considering our friends in Europe, America, and other areas where we used to access funds is actually a bit harder now. But that does not stop us from actually using African banks like Key Bank, Key, good player, our big brother who has been doing so well. Afrexim has just been so fantastic in terms of, especially the oil and gas sector, funding oil and gas assets. Afrexim has just been really wonderful. So we will keep looking at Afrexim. However, we investors will also need to play a part by making sure, again, I repeat again, making sure we have the appropriate corporate governance structure. Because Afrexim is a bank, they're giving you money and they expect you to make returns, you know. So we need to make sure we are ready in terms of that structure.
Leoncio, I want you to jump on this. There is this movement around saying we want to get African players to do the acquisitions and to participate. But we also have a problem where we are not able, or we have not shown to be the most reliable operators, whether on HSE issues or really operating in world-class standards. How do you convince an international player as an African player that needs to have? And a case in point, we've seen oil spills, we've seen a lot of HSE problem around African independence. How do we turn that around?
Yes, NJ. I think that's a good question. You know, when you look at the past, we as Africans have done a very poor job, you know, in managing our oil and gas assets. For instance, you can see, you know, all the NOCs around Africa. You know, you have some new companies like Trident that they are just 10 years old, and they are doing so great compared to guys like NMPC, G-Petrol, Sonangol, and others. It tells you what? It tells you that we are doing a very bad job, you know, in operating and managing our assets. Now, that could be changed, you know, if we are ready and we want to really bring some, you know, outside expertise to assimilate that, you know, and make sure that we as African, you know, we understand and we become responsible, you know, in terms of managing our assets.
So what are you talking about outside expertise? The same skills the boys from Trident or Tulu or the International Independence had are the same skills the Africans had. Take, for example, Abdul is one of the, he did an amazing job in Saudi Arabia. Some of the best Schlumberger boys are Africans. Some of the best Baker Hughes or Wood Group or Technip Energy boys are Africans. What is the issue that we can't get it right? I'm trying to hold you guys accountable.
Exactly. When I say we, I don't mean guys like Abdul or you or me. I mean the deciders that are really making sure that who runs the company, who is bidding, who is winning that bid, those guys, because those same guys went to the same school like the white boys in Europe, but when we come back home, we tend to really, you know, forget what we learned. So now what you need in Africa is to appoint a guy like Abdul to maybe run NNPC because Abdul understands the business. You see my point? That's my point.
But isn't it an issue?
Don't appoint.
Leonce, stop there. It's not about the Abduls of the world, the Schlumberger boys. Isn't it an issue where sometimes you get the project, make a little bit of money, and then the next thing you fly in first class and you're having private jets when your European counterpart is saying that you want to stay on a $300 room? That is also something we have to hold ourselves accountable, and that fiscal discipline and personal responsibility, it has to come in a sense when you see putting local content. I got a question from the audience. I'm just going to read it as it came. What kind of public-private partnerships is needed to raise capital within the continent, and what innovative strategies should be implemented in establishing an African energy bank? Who wants to take this?
I'm trying to be able to talk about this because I think it goes back to what I was saying in terms of where do you get the cash. A public-private partnership is a great thing, but then you need to be able to understand what drives that particular institution, which is the bank in that sense. I go back to what Grace was saying. You need to be able to understand that it's a bank. So there are several maxims about how the bank is going to function to be able to make sure that those loans just don't get dished out willy-nilly in that sense. And so, yes, a public-private partnership is something I would suggest, which gets some of those.
What about creating a bank?
Pardon?
What about creating an African energy bank?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yes.
Absolutely,
Absolutely 1000%. Put in the money in terms of some of the sovereign money, but then get out as the politicians, get out as governments, and let the technicians, let me use Abdul, let the Abduls of this world be able to go in there and do the job. Let them do the job without thinking that they're going to be sacked the next day because a new politician has come to power. It is critical. These projects are long-term projects. You invest in oil and gas for 5, 10, 15 years. That is longer than a political mandate. So you need people who can think beyond an existing 4-year or 5-year term. That is critical.
Yeah.
You're making Abdul look like a smart guy. Timmy, to bring you this. Namibia has done amazing in getting IOC's explorers to stay in Namibia and continue working, and also being competitive. What is the Namibian magic that Nigeria, South Africa, I mean, you can't even shoot seismic in South Africa. These people will sue the hell out of you. What has been the Namibian magic that Africa can learn from Namibia, and also the sense of being persistent and being patient?
There is no real magic. I think that the issue sort of trickles down to governance. How comfortable are the investors in Namibia as a country? How is the country governed? How does it address its business affairs, and can they trust the institutions? Is the judiciary well functioning? And I think Namibia has been able to ensure that all of those factors are well in place in order to attract investors, in order to have investor trusts in the country. So there's really no magic to it at all, but just ensuring that governance and good policies are in place. And I think another example of that is that in terms that falls along with governance is that there's a lot of public debate. So in a lot of issues, policy issues that have come up in the country, similar to South Africa's triple BEE program, Namibia has a NEEB program that's currently in the works. But the country has made, or the government has made, particular effort to make sure that this bill is publicly addressed and publicly input before it is actually passed as a bill in Parliament. So there's a lot of conversation going on. And I think all these factors in the end make investor trust so much easier in our country.
Abdul, there is a big feeling, and I get a lot of mails from people, most of them good mails. There is a few that comes with some insults that come in, but it's expected. But it is a big feeling among a lot of Africans that in January 2021, Norway launched, okay, let me pull back. You took me to COP, you were my bodyguard at COP 26. And after COP, they had these pledges on decarbonization. January 2021, Norway launched a licensing round with 52 licenses put up. Today, or about 5 days ago, the UK is saying they're going to have a big oil and gas licensing round in the United Kingdom. But African producers, African countries are being told, don't license oil and gas, don't explore, don't do everything, leave it in the ground for solar or for any other thing. What would you tell an African who feels that this is unfair, or what do you think if it's not unfair?
Well, I have a very popular quote from George Orwell, who says, all animals are equal, some are just more equal than another. It has nothing but to say about it than to say it is unfair. The natural resources in Africa has been exploited for over a long period of time. In the fourth industrial revolution, Africa cannot afford to be left behind. In the words of the executive secretary of UNECA, she said, every single day we delay, every single day that is wasted in getting Africa to that destination is delayed to prosperity. So if we need to industrialize Africa, we need to ensure that we use that resources we have. We've been advancing, we've been canvassing. We went to COP26 telling them gas is part of the equation. We're not even invited to come. We were told we are part of the problem, so we can't be part of the solution. But everybody that flew there flew at the back of a jet plane, private jets, from oil and gas. So they have come to the reality that the gas is a transition. I've seen different projection of energy mix by 2050. The optimists believe renewable will take over everything. Oil will die, gas will die. The pessimists think renewable will have no place. It's not sustainable, it's too expensive. The truth is gas will continue to grow till that 2050. If we have to achieve that Africa we dream of, that Africa we want by the AU 2063 objective, it has to be Africa we want for us, by us. What we have as our resources have to play a part, and gas is part of that. So nobody has the right to tell us not to use gas. And I can tell you it has been done before. Egypt did it. I did a case study on Egypt. I presented it last week at a keynote address. Egypt was able to turn around energy deficit to become energy exporter. If you look at what Egypt did in 2011, when the Arab Spring happened, when they have 6 hours of power shutdown in the middle of summer. If you live in the Middle East, you understand what I'm telling you. Then doing some economic reform and energy reform, putting in place policies that will allow FDIs to come into Egypt. They become the best attractor of FDI for the last 5 years in Africa. When the government did their part, stay out of the way, let the technocrats come in, look at what you are doing wrong, increase your generation capacity, increase your transmission capacity. You have 100% access to electricity in Egypt. Now they are exporting to Iraq, exporting to Jordan, exporting out of Egypt.
Abdul, I'm running out of time. I'm going to interrupt.
This was possible because they have Zohr. The Zohr offshore gas came online in 30 months. In 30 months, they were able to produce 1 BCF to power the economy.
Abdul, I want to get Namibian oil, Namibian gas in 20 months, Nigerian gas in 2 months, and Equatorial Guinea gas, who knows when Leonce will let it happen. But I'm going to ask this question, and Verna, when you come in here, we saw at Africa Energy Week last year, a lot of deals being signed, and we've seen some picked up, negotiations that started, like Afentra discussing with Senegal NAMCOR out of Namibia discussing with Sonangol, they doing deals and these deals happening. Are we going to see more deals being signed at Africa Energy Week this year? What do you say before we go?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's a great feeling to see the number of deals that are progressing due to some of the meetings that happen at Africa Energy Week. By the way, for those who do not know, Africa Energy Week is the number one the number
you need
one
to say that. Just tell us about the deals. There's nothing
of
on
the energy industry in Africa. And so we have seen deals like you've just noticed about Afentra and some of these other ones. Yes, we are seeing deals. There's a number of talking. I can't talk about this publicly where it's not public information, but we're seeing a number of deals going around places like Niger, where there's going to be production ramping up from 20,000 to 100,000 next year. We're seeing a lot of movement in Nigeria due to the marginal plays that are happening. A lot of companies are coming together and getting the right kind of finance that they need. Absolutely, we're likely to see more in the Gulf of Guinea. Equatorial Guinea is a hotbed in terms of what's going on. So we're looking at a number of deals going on there. Some of the majors are leaving. For a lot of people, that is also opportunity. So we're likely to see more African majors turn up. Certainly, we've seen a couple of companies in Nigeria bid and go out to spend billions of dollars for assets. That's likely to be a trend that is going to continue as we see African majors go out of this trend that is coming. So see you all October 18th.
Bernard, I'll stop you. There's no, they might still see before October, but I've been told I have about 2 minutes. One, Sophia, your question on getting the recording, it's recorded, it would be sent to you, so you can at least put us right for once from the chamber. But then I would also want to ask with Abdul to explain a lot about, and maybe Leoncio to jump in here on virtual LNG around Africa. Maybe Leoncio, LNG, gas around Africa. We're seeing floating LNG programs in your region in Cameroon. There's a potential deal being done by ENI in Congo with New Fortress Energy and Equatorial Guinea LNGs. Where are we going with LNG? And are we going to see some movement around projects like a Tinde, Yolanda with New Age in your region?
Thank you. In fact, yes, things are happening in our region. And I think you just saw it a few months ago. Agreements have been signed, an MOU has been signed between EG and Nigeria to bring gas from Nigeria to EG. The same thing is going to happen between Cameroon to bring gas from Yoyo to Allen. So we are trying to really gather the gas, around,
Let me stop you. I'm happy you brought that up. I'm happy you brought that up. How do we move? Don't hit your son, that'll be abuse. How do we move? How do we move from signing MOUs? That's the beauty of Zoom. These adult things happen. How do we move from signing MOUs in getting real projects happening right and to turning these MOUs into real contracts so everyday people can get jobs? So many young people looking for opportunities. They don't just want to hear promises, they want to see real deals. Can we get that Nigerian gas into that LNG plant? I know you and Abdul have been working on something. Can you please tell us?
Yes, we can do it. We can do it. The good thing is that you have the politician. Let me elaborate. So you have the guys from politics to sign the MOU. Then you need to bring people that actually do business to come together, and actually build things that can really drive, the business and bring people that can actually deliver. Not politicians, as my friend said, Werner, do need the expertise that people from business side can only do, not politicians. So the MOU is good, but now the next phase is to bring people like Abdul, like me, like you, like Werner, and others, to actually sign business that can really make things go forward. That would be the next phase. And in fact, as you point out, my friend Abdul, we are now working on something to really make sure that Nigerians, AG guys, and Cameroonians can sit at the table, discuss business, and see how can we bring the gas from Nigeria, from Cameroon to EG, and make sure that we local companies in those three countries, we can actually benefit from that business and create jobs for people.
So if I pick on that quickly, NJ, let me pick on that quickly. The future for Africa is collaboration and integration. I call it diagonal integration. We are going to start to see hydrogen hubs. I'm sure, I mean, Taimi talk about the Namibia hydrogen, the South Corridor project, you know about the Morocco project, you know about what Chariot is doing. The future is creating this integration and collaboration, where you will create a gas hub, where you will create hydrogen hub. Every countries in Africa will not have the ability to have carbon storage. You're going to have to identify where are going to be the carbon storage region in Africa. They have the facility, natural facility that we can actually do carbon storage. So with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we're going to have to put the policy framework. This is where the role the government plays to put that platform. The policy framework, the regulatory framework, how we are going to synergize. Once that is in place, a business now will see an opportunity there. There is an opportunity to have the gas hub, the Golden Triangle in Africa, which is in the Gulf of Guinea, Africa, Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, Nigeria, stranded gas in this region. How can we make that a gas hub? From there, some will be run by pipelines, some will be run by virtual pipe technology. We can move those virtual pipe technology to take LNG over a longer distance, power inland African countries that have no access to the shore, that have no access to this gas. So we can use the virtual pipe technology from a gas hub in the golden quadrant between Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria, and Cameroon, go to Cameroon with power, go to other parts of Africa, go into Central Africa, get into Republic of Congo, and supply gas into this region to power Africa. That is something that we have to now translate the MOU into action. And it's one of the reasons why gas is part of Team Energy Africa agenda, because we understand the domestic gas obligation. 55% of LPG used in Nigeria are imported. If you don't know, you know it now. It comes from the US, it comes from Equatorial Guinea and Algeria. 55% LPG for a country with 270 TCF of gas, that should send you a warning. We're still importing LPG. Now look at other parts in Africa that do not have gas, what the cooking challenge, what the cooking gas challenge is. And this is where we need to start to look at hubs, LPG hub, LNG hub, hydrogen hub for Africa to address the domestic gas challenge.
Abdul, thank you so much. And I just want to thank the audience for being very patient with us. And I just want to thank you, Abdul, Leoncio, Grace, Verna, Taimi. I think you have shown that within our continent, we can have a rigorous debate. We can have a strong dialogue among ourselves with our international parties. We all don't have to agree on the same thing, but we all have to continue finding solutions to drive our continent further. And yes, you talk about the future of Africa. I still think it's going to be on the role of women and young people. And let's not forget that the majority of people that are victims of energy poverty are women. Let's not forget the majority of people that are victims of clean cooking, of not having clean cooking technologies are women, and there goes our future. So we would have to do a lot more to drive that. I just want to thank everybody from the audience for tuning in to be part of this discussion and really sharing with us your comments. Forgive me if we've not been able to ask all your questions, but I just want to thank the panelists as well. They are very busy, they love money, they're capitalists, but they make the time to be here with us. We'll continue having these discussions. We are looking forward to further discussions with a big US delegation, the Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources in the coming weeks, and a lot of the IOCs in the future. And we want to probe in. We want to go where nobody goes. And you can trust us at the chamber. If they come here, we'll get some answers, starting with us. Thank you so much, and thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to you joining the chamber, being part of the discussion, and connecting with all these great panelists. And don't forget to ask them various questions. Reach out. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Baba.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.